Hello everyone, thank you for bearing with me. I had a few technical difficulties. My name is Andre Bonner, and I'm here today to talk to you guys about music, because music's awesome. Music is a little bit kind of like religion, you know, everyone to their own, everyone has their own beliefs, all their own, you know, tastes and philosophies and all the other weird things that you guys acquire over your lives. So I ask you guys to keep an open mind, whatever preconceived notions you might have, just dispel them. So we're actually here to talk today about a very popular new style of music coming out. It's called dubstep. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. It's actually a little bit of a variation on something called EDM, electronic dance music. It's really impossible to summarize in 8 slides. Like if anyone said, oh, summarize rap in 8 slides. Can't do it. So just ask that you guys bear with me still. So it's technically a tightly coiled production with overwhelming bass lines and reverberant drum patterns, clipped samples, and occasional vocals. Now for those of you who aren't music majors, basically that means that all of the melodies, they're going to be very loud, they're going to be in your ear. The drum patterns are very heavy, you're going to hear them at the forefront of the music. And by samples, it means sampling other bits of music, putting it into your own, not exactly plagiarism, but it's similar. Subgenre of EDM, said that already. And two very characteristic traits of dubstep is something called the drop and the wub. Now the wub, I don't know if you guys have ever heard about this, it's when you take a part of a music and you use some sort of filter on it. When you use distortion, when you try to oscillate the frequencies. And so when you have like a duh, like you have a note, you have it right here, when you oscillate it's going to go whoa, 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 like that's what it's going to sound like. The drop is in music when you don't have vocals. Vocals is a type of meter. You know what that is? It kind of divides the song up. When you don't have it, how do you break the song up? Well, you do it with an auditory meter. And the drop is when you suspend all the tension in the song for a brief moment to either launch a new rhythm or to give emphasis to the next part of the beat. Now, the origins is it actually started not too long ago, started about a decade ago in South London, because London is a very popular hub of dance music. It evolved from a genre known as two-step, which is also another type of dance music. The only reason it actually got popular was because the British Broadcasting Company, they have a couple of very progressive DJs. They put it on the radio station, and it actually got very popular. Mary Ann Hobbs was the DJ who actually began the very first dubstep station in the entire world, basically, and that happened in January of 2006. Now, this is the reason why you should care about dubstep, even if you don't like dance music. This is Jim Morrison. He's a lead singer of The Doors. Back in 1969, he called it. He called techno music. He called dubstep. I can kind of envision one person with a lot of machines, the full quote is a lot of machines, tapes, electronic setups, making music. That's insane that one of the most famous rock bands of all time predicted 4 decades in advance how music was going to develop. Dubstep artists are becoming more critically acclaimed. Skrillex, I'm sure that's a name that some of you are already familiar with. He won 3 awards at the Grammys. I don't know if you guys know the Grammys, but they're kind of a big deal in America. Top music awards in the country. With the progression into the digital age, dubstep is becoming this generation's rock and roll. And think about it in the past, back in the 1950s, 1960s, when Elvis came out, he was radical. People didn't like him. People didn't like his sound. That's what's kind of happening. It's a parallel, if you will. And these are the different subgenres. These are just to name a few. We have our mainstream postmodern, which is our typical heavy London-inspired dubstep. We have our drum and bass. Very fast, very regular beats, extremely regular, almost to the point where it almost becomes background music. We have our breakbeat, very heavy hip-hop influence, alternating drum beats with snares, lots of hi-hats. And we have our bro step, which is the derisive title for American-influenced dubstep. More discordant, mid-register bass lines, and extremely regular meter. Now, I actually linked a couple of things just to kind of give you guys a quick I actually haven't tested this yet, so it doesn't seem to be working too well. But I was going to show you guys a couple of examples from different songs that you guys might be able to take and listen to try and get a good idea of what genre might be kind of to your liking. It's not really working, however, but if you guys maybe want to write down a couple names, maybe go online, search them when you get home. We have Nero and Netsky. These are 2 very kind of poppy mainstream artists. They're going to be more similar to something that you might have heard of before. Nero is going to be our typical UK-inspired band. Netsky is going to be our drum and bass. And then we have Bass Nectar, who's one of my favorite artists. He's a breakbeat artist, and he experiments with very hip-hop-inspired beats. He experiments with more of an open sound, sort of a stream of consciousness, if you will. Skrillex, of course, our face of dubstep worldwide. He is kind of controversial because he uses a lot of very unconventional methods. For instance, he uses a lot of guitar sampling in his songs. He uses very discordant melodies where they clash together and almost make it painful to listen to, some have described. But others seem to feed off of this kind of tension and this energy. You might, if you know anyone who likes metal, these are going to be the people who like Skrillex. And then we have Zed's Dead, who's more of an experimental artist. And finally, final thoughts, I have some advantages and disadvantages for you guys. One of the advantages of dubstep music is that they're typically solo and duo acts. I don't know if you guys have ever played in a band, if you've ever tried to make music before. It is so difficult to get 4 or 5 people together to write music. You can't do it. Everyone has a life. Everyone has a job. Everyone has to do things. You can't sit down and just make up melodies all day. It's not viable. But a single person, they can do this. They can work this into their lives. They don't have to rely on anyone else. And it provides a very intense creative focus. It allows one person to really express themselves to the fullest extent of their heart, really. It's computer made, which means they have access to basically every single note that has ever been played or possibly will ever be played. They have guitars, drums, any sort of sound that can be made by a computer is at the disposal of the artist in question. But some of the disadvantages, of course, is because of the World Wide Web, anyone with a computer and free editing software can make this music. It's not hard. You can find it anywhere, and it's, when you're competing against the entire world, when you're looking for one truly quality act out of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people producing this music, it can be very hard to weed through it. Concerts and live performances are very hard because who wants to go to a concert to watch someone play with their laptop, you know? So they're very reliant on charisma, on light shows, and it kind of limits. I'm sure that none of you have really heard of any mainstream dubstep artists, and that's because there's only like 2 of them. Because it's very hard to break out into the big concert level of popularity. And then finally, it's impossible to make unless you have some sort of proficiency with computers. And I'm kind of the opinion it's a learning hurdle that's similar to learning how to play the guitar. If you want to make dubstep, gotta learn how to use a computer. If you want to make rock and roll, gotta learn how to use a guitar. Simple as that. And that's about it for me.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
Question.
Oh yeah.